All right, thanks so much, Lyles. Let's go ahead and get started. So in today's presentation, I'll kick it off by sharing a little bit about myself. We'll talk a little bit about rezStream, and then we'll move on to the 2023 traveler trends, industry changes, and our digital marketing must-haves. We'll recap, and then we can move on to the Q&A. So for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of working with, my name is Liz Brown. I'm the VP of Customer Delivery. Been with the company for over 11 years. I'm originally from the Midwest, but absolutely love living out here in Denver, which is why I've stuck around for 14 years. In my spare time, I enjoy taking walks with my family, enjoying some hot yoga, reading lots of cute little books to my daughter, and of course, traveling to some new places. So some things about rezStream. We're a small company helping small businesses. We have a great team of people here who truly care and are passionate about what they do. We view ourselves as being an extension of your team, even if we aren't necessarily on site with you, but we really want to be hands-on and do whatever we can to help your business grow. Between the team here and all the different team members, we have about 100 years of combined industry experience, which is pretty incredible. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Chances are we've encountered that situation or problem before, so we can help you navigate. And the suite of solutions that we provide include digital marketing services, website design services, and then our PMS, which is our property management system. And our core focus is helping those independently owned properties. So moving on, we're going to talk about traveler trends first before moving on to the industry changes and then the digital marketing must-haves for the new year. So with that being said, the first is diversity and inclusivity. So this is continuing to play a more and more important role. According to Facebook, 71% of consumers expect brands to showcase diversity and inclusion throughout their marketing. So you want to make sure that you're taking the time and making an effort with this. It helps kind of build more trust with those potential guests that are researching to potentially stay with you. And then once they see the authenticity, then they feel nice and comfortable to be able to move forward with booking. So the best way to get started is research what age groups, races, and gender that you're currently serving. So that way you can really make sure that you're able to strengthen your representation. A great way to kind of get started with this is taking a look at your cloud PMS or your Google Analytics, any analytical CRM that you may have access to get a better feel for who truly your guests are. And then from there, you want to make sure that you're supporting that representation by taking steps to promote things like visual content, celebrating some multicultural celebrations, and then, of course, just making sure all of those digital assets are accessible. The next traveler trend is bleisure traveler, bleisure traveler. Mouthful. So this is when you're kind of combining business and leisure in one trip. So this has kind of been a rising trend just in this past year, but it's expected to grow in 2023. So really what you want to do is take a look at who kind of your core audiences in terms of like what are typically the guests doing when they stay with you. If they're geared more towards, say, leisure, then you may want to see if there's easy ways that you can cater to a business traveler to be able to appeal to them. So when you're looking at things like your website, you want to make sure you're highlighting, maybe some technology that's available on site to make it easier for them to use, such as Wi-Fi, workspaces that may be available for them to have some privacy outside of their room, conference rooms that they could take advantage of, any other amenities that you can think of that would appeal to those remote workers or people that may be staying with you as they're tending to some business. And then on the flip side, if you feel like you have a really strong base of business travelers and you're wanting to attract more leisure, look at ways that you can kind of feature some activities or fun things for them to be able to do in your area out after a long day of work. The third traveler trend is travel lighter. So these are travelers that are becoming more conscious of their carbon footprint. And so they just want to bring less with them when they're traveling. So, in order for you to appeal to more of these guests, you more or less want to try to provide some of those bulkier items on site that maybe they would expect to be able to take advantage of during their stay, such as workout equipment, blow dryers, or any gear that would allow them to be suitcase free. All right, we're moving on to industry changes. So this is going to focus more on digital marketing. The first is GA4. So for those of you that don't know, Google Analytics has announced they're going to be retiring their current platform, which is Universal, and they're only going to be offering GA4 effective July 2023. So GA4 is really looking at doing a couple different things, which should be helpful as we continue to evolve in this world, such as being able to better track across those different devices that guests are using to use along kind of their purchase path. It also is going to allow us to have access to predictive analytics, where more or less Google is going to be able to help us kind of predict maybe what those customers are wanting to do next based on past trends. And we'll be able to rely on some machine learning to be able to fill in some of the gaps as people become more conscious of being tracked when they're browsing online and as we become more cookieless. So some of the metrics, for the most part, should stay the same. There's going to be a couple that will phase out. Reports, you'll still be able, more or less, to be able to get some of the same information that you always have. It just may look differently, or you may have to go to a different spot to collect that once you are in GA4. So before even kind of, getting overwhelmed with all of that stuff, the major to do is to just set up your GA4 account so that you can begin collecting data. For those of you that are using the rezStream booking engine, the cloud booking engine, just get in touch with our support team by emailing support@rezstream.com. We will be able to kind of walk you through the steps. We have detailed instructions on the settings that need to be put in place in GA4. And then we can also provide you with instructions on changes that need to be made on the website. And then we can also handle some of the stuff on the booking engine. The sooner that you get this new account set up and the sooner that you begin collecting data, the better off you'll be when that July 2023 date kind of rolls around. Because if I wasn't clear earlier, the Universal platform will be going away, meaning none of that data will be accessible unless you're making a point to export that out. So you're more or less starting from scratch. So the sooner the better. Early bird gets the worm. That's the right, that's the right phrase. All right, moving on. Video. So we have talked about video over the years, but it just continues to become more and more popular. As you've probably heard, there's lots of social media networks like TikTok that have really kind of changed the landscape, where people are just consuming video way more than they ever have. So you really need to take it seriously and invest the time in capturing video, whether that be rooms, testimonials from guests, just capturing maybe the surrounding area. I mean, whatever it is, it certainly can't hurt, because it's just giving people another way to be able to learn more about the property and have a better understanding of what that potential experience could be like. And then once you actually capture the footage, then you have to promote it. So making sure that you're taking the time to promote this in a couple different spots If you want to get started really nice and easy, a great place is social media. There's lots of networks like Instagram's Reels that make it very easy for you to be able to post that content. Any Facebook advertising campaign supports video. You certainly can just start with some general posts that you're making to your Facebook page, or even doing some live footage or a live feed if you're feeling really spontaneous. From there, if you have more video footage that you really just want to have a nice home to be able to store it, and also kind of go out of your way to be able to promote all of that footage, definitely looking at creating a YouTube channel makes sense. There's lots of bells and whistles for you to be able to make it easy for people to find that footage when they're on YouTube. But then on top of that, Google is also making a lot of adjustments in their own search results to be able to provide more real estate to those sites that are offering video footage. So that can certainly help out from an SEO standpoint. And then the final point that I have here is just the email marketing campaigns. So it certainly can't hurt with those email marketing campaigns that you're sending out. You should be working with an email platform that allows video footage to be easily featured as a content piece. So certainly would recommend maybe testing that out and see how that works out for your guests. All right. So now I'm going to be moving on to some of the must-haves, the non-negotiables first. So these are things that you just absolutely should be doing regardless. So no surprise here. The first one is search engine optimization. Organic traffic should be your largest traffic driving channel and your cheapest. So you absolutely should be spending the most time when it comes to all things digital marketing on SEO first and foremost. And also be mindful of the fact that Google handles about 88.8% of all traffic. So it's a really positive place to be, because if you're not, you really are missing out. So not only making sure that your existing website pages are constantly being adjusted and tweaked, and keywords are being looked at based on demand and trends and truly what people are searching for, but then you also want to make sure that you have a proactive strategy in place where you're going out and creating new content and expanding that footprint in order to reach new guests and bring those people into your website to be able to book with you. Speaking of Google, the next kind of non-negotiable that we have is Google Hotel Ads. This is a meta search engine, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about this past year. But the first place that we would recommend kind of getting your feet wet a little bit with meta search is Google Hotels. And I think kind of my previous slide with Google, handling about 88% of all website traffic, that's a pretty strong reason why you'd want to start there. For those of you that aren't super familiar with meta search, it's the technology that allows your booking engine to kind of feed rates and availability to some of these different platforms. But in Google Hotels instance, it's specifically within Google search results. So attached to your Google business listing, you, without doing any work, just leveraging that technology, you're able to pull in and promote your rates and availability for people to have that information without even clicking into your website. And this is a great way for you to bring in those direct reservations. So even if you are already participating in the OTAs, you want to make sure that you're also investing in your own brand presence and offering up that as an opportunity for those potential guests when it comes to booking. And so just making a point to not only seek out that technology and get that live, but if you already are playing with Google Hotels free booking links, which is that highlighted example to the left in that screenshot, you can also kind of up the ante by investing in Google Hotel Ads, which is just going to give you an additional placement. So instead of just showing once, now you're able to show twice for your own branded website. And on top of that, you're able to show higher up in the search results. So one of the things that we want to be mindful of, not only when it comes to just all marketing, when it comes to your direct reservation and your direct booking strategy, but very, very much when it comes to wanting to win when playing within the meta search space is making sure that you are promoting your best rate, because OTAs do not have a problem of undercutting your direct rate, even if you have that nice little contract where you're promising to show rate parity. They can have certain techniques and ways for them to be able to manipulate maybe that rate that they're able to show to their potential guests to bring them into their site versus your site. And then of course you're having to pay that commission. So, really when it comes to Google Hotels, meta search, but also another, must have in 2023 is making sure that you're doing what you need to do in order to promote your best rate, which is often the lowest rate, so that you can encourage people to go to your website, trust that your website is going to offer them that best rate. And then on top of that, you really are just going to succeed when you're able to show that best rate. So for those of you that are mixing with some of those different OTA channels, it's just a reminder to do some double checking with how those rates are displaying across some of those different channels, including your own. You want to make sure that you're testing those rates out to make sure that what it is that you're feeding is truly what's being represented. And then if that's not the case, that's when you can kind of go back to that OTA and bring that up. So hopefully they'll get the point that they cannot continue to undercut you, even if it means less business for them. And then of course you can kind of work with your digital marketing partners to be able to look at other ways to really make it obvious in some of your different marketing collateral on why it would make the most sense for those potential guests to book directly with you, whether it's promoting certain incentives, flexible policies, whatever it is, but that is something that would be something to look at, and finding ways to kind of make that very apparent, whether you're playing with Google Hotels or not, any meta search, even though you should, but good, healthy conversations to have, and a definite strategy must have for 2023. The next here is new imagery. So we know typically it's quite an investment when it comes to new imagery, but it is so important to make sure that the photography is fresh and up to date, and it reflects truly what that guest can expect when they are staying with you. So if you've made a point to make some renovations or updates on site, new photography needs to happen. And then if it's been a couple years, trust me, you can tell you want to invest in just having somebody come in and be able to take some fresh footage. Not only are rooms, going to be top of the priority list in terms of capturing new imagery for, but then also selling the experience, selling the property, selling what that would potentially look like, as well as maybe what some of those different guests look like and team members look like. There's so much that photos can do to be able to kind of paint that picture. And it truly is, helpful in being able for them to feel nice and comfortable and moving forward with that reservation with you. So if you don't have the budget to be able to hire that professional photographer who has experience in capturing lodging properties, know that there's been a lot of improvements when it comes to phones and the cameras that are on some of those phones to be able to capture some great imagery. So if all else fails, please just pick up that smartphone, start snapping away, share that content with your digital marketing provider, your website design team, get their thoughts. Hopefully they're nice and honest and they can provide you with some additional tips if there's better things to be able to be captured and represent on the website and with some of those different marketing efforts. But new imagery continues to be important. And not only that, but it's stuff that you can also repurpose with social, with email marketing, and a bunch of other tactics out there for promotion. So it will not be a waste. All right. Moving on to the must-haves and things that we think that you should plan for. If you're working with a digital marketing provider, you want to talk to them about structured data. So the easiest way to kind of think about structured data is it's a way of adding a snippet of code to each website page to be able to tell the search engines what content is about, and to be able to highlight information to the search engines about those individual pages. From there, Google and the other search engines have an opportunity to kind of better understand what that intended page content really is. And then from there, they can take that information and display some of those important details to their searchers when it comes to your organic search results. So in the example here, I have the highlighted property name, as well as the phone number. And you can even see the property logo, which is kind of hard, but there is a logo there. This is all a result of implementing structured data on the homepage. And then, as you can see, Google took that information, served that up as a search result for this organic listing. And so the nice thing about this compared to other organic listings is it's taking up more space, and therefore it's capturing my eye when you're looking at a page full of other results. So definitely recommend speaking with your digital marketing vendor and putting a plan in place for you to be able to leverage structured data, and lots of different examples of schema out there, which is also structured data, but it can include local information, contact details, FAQ reviews, and so much more. So yeah. The next is promoting reviews. So we all know at this point how important reviews are when it comes to those potential guests determining where they want to stay. But what I really kind of want to focus on with promoting reviews is making sure that you're creating a page on your website that's able to pull in reviews from some of these important third-party sites to be able to help with bringing in those guests when it comes to your online booking engine. So most of the time, the websites that you're wanting to kind of really promote heavily are Google, from your Google business listing, TripAdvisor, Facebook. There may be a few others out there that you may want to include, but hopefully in speaking with your website team and digital marketing team, you'll be able to kind of find a solution. I know we have it here at rezStream where you can bring those in on a frequent and consistent basis. So there's very up-to-date content being shown. On top of that, there's some additional filtering that's available so that you're not kind of putting yourself in a position where a really bad review is displaying on your website. But from there, once you have the technology piece in place, you can optimize that page to bring in additional traffic. And then it's also giving people the ability to look at that content when they're on your website, so they're not having to leave your website to go and seek that information out. They can feel really nice and comfortable, and therefore feel confident in moving forward with making that booking with you. All right. And the last kind of must-have is just usability testing. So your website is your number one marketing tool. It should be your largest revenue driving channel when it comes to your online reservations, leads, storytelling, and so much more. So making sure that you have a plan in place to run some different usability tests this year, evaluate maybe how visitors are navigating page to page, figuring out really kind of where the issues are, sticking points or deficiencies, so that you can go in and address those. These tools typically go beyond just Google Analytics. While Google Analytics is helpful, it sometimes doesn't paint the whole picture and allow you to see specifically where people are getting held up, or maybe certain things that they're not seeing that they should be seeing. So usability tools involving like heat mapping and being recorded sessions and things like that, A/B testing, that can really give you the answers that you need to make sure that you really are offering the best experience possible and make it as frictionless as needed in order to generate those additional online bookings in the new year. All right, so with that, that's the recap. So the recap, more to-dos for you is just evaluate some of the things that we talked about today and determine which ones really make the most sense for you, things that maybe you're not doing that you could be doing, or things that maybe you are doing but you could be doing a better job of. And then from there, update that strategy for the next 12 months and figure out really what's going to provide you with the most impact based on timing for you to be able to capture new guests and bookings. And then just a soft reminder that in the event you get held up or you're confused along, along the way, rezStream's here to assist. We can do it all for you, but we can certainly be here as just, you know, a sounding board if there's certain things that you're getting hung up on. But in the event that you do want us to kind of take full ownership with launching, managing, and more by working very closely with you, we're here to help. And then before we kind of finalize, or I should say move on to the Q&A and finalize kind of today's presentation, just wanted to reiterate that we're always doing our best with updating our education center on the rezStream website with webinar recordings, also blog promotion and resource guides that can be there as that can be there to help out with you. All right, so there's my contact information. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think, Lyles, we are good to move on to the Q&A.